Hello and welcome back. Today I am reviewing the Necron Warriors. Necrons are one of my favourite factions to collect in Warhammer. I like their playstyle and I think their aesthetic is pretty cool as well. I have quite a few Necron Warriors in my army, and so I'll talk quite a bit about how I like to play them in game at the end. So the Necron Warriors are 13 points each, with a movement of 5, weapon skill and ballistic skill 3+, strength and toughness 4, 1 wound and attack, leadership of 10 and a 4+ save. They come in hordes of 10 to 20, they have the troops battlefield roll, and they're 6 power for 10 of them, or 12 for any more than that. They're equipped with either a Gauss Flare or Gauss Reaper, and I'll go over those and compare them in a minute. But first I'll look at their abilities. Their first one is Reanimation Protocols. That means that whenever this unit loses models as the result of shooting, psychic attacks, or in the fight phase, you get to roll Reanimation Protocols. For every dead model, you roll 1 dice. On a 5 or 6, they get reanimated and replaced in the unit. There are some restrictions with this, like you can't place them closer to an enemy you're going to charge if they were killed by Overwatch, but you can place them further away or closer to the enemy on other occasions, or you can place them into cover. Their next ability is Command Protocols, and that's quite a big one. I'll go over that separately in another video at some point. They also have Their Number is Legion, where you re-roll the reanimation protocol rolls of 1 made for this unit. That's pretty simple, and it gives them a 16% durability boost with reanimating. Now, their overall stat line shows that they're a lot better at range than they are in melee, and although they may look pretty weak at first, with only 1 wound, because they come in large hordes, they can be quite difficult to shoot through, and when deployed correctly, they can absolutely annihilate enemies. Now I'll take a look at the differences between the Gauss Flare and Gauss Reaper. Both are fairly good, and they both have advantages and disadvantages. First, I'll look at the Flare. This is the original weapon that the Necrons own, and it's the longer barrelled single barrel gun on the right here. The Gauss Flare is 24-inch range, rapid fire 1, strength 4, -1 AP and 1 damage. Now the Gauss Reaper, which is the shorter twin barrel gun, is 12-inch range, assault 2, strength 5, -2 AP and 1 damage. So you can see that they've both got their advantages. The Flare is a lot longer range, but the Reaper packs a much better punch in that close range. Normally I'd give my Necron Warriors a Reaper, because I think that extra strength and AP really helps against tough enemies, especially Space Marines. However, the Flare is still quite effective. The problem with the Flare though is that Immortals are much better at doing damage at range, so if you're using these as a shooting unit, I'd maybe reconsider picking Immortals instead, as they're still troops, but with a much better damage output. One problem with the Reaper though is with its very short range you can easily be charged, and as Necron Warriors only have 1 attack, they're really not very good for being in close combat too long. So I think in most situations I'd still take the Reaper however, but the Flare is still very good when you play it correctly. The Flare's probably better if you want a gunline strategy, but the Reaper can be used more as an offensive, objective-taking game. Being one of the only infantry choices, the Necron Warriors have quite a few synergies. First is the Royal Warden. He allows them to charge and shoot in a turn where they fell back. This means that they can be used to lock up heavy vehicles in combat while still letting the rest of your army shoot at it. And they'll also be taking away that unit's abilities to shoot at your elite damage dealers. The Sotek Dynasty is especially good for gunline tactics, because it allows you to rapid fire your Gauss flares at 18 inches instead of 12. It's really useful getting that extra range, because twice the shots is obviously twice the damage. The Lords and Overlords are also pretty good at increasing their damage output. Overlord adds 1 to their hit rolls, and Lord rerolls hit rolls of 1. If you combine them, you could make it so that they basically auto-hit. And that's especially useful because a unit of 20 of these guys with the Gauss Reapers, if they automatically hit pretty much, with hitting on 2s and re-rolling 1s, and that's going to be a lot of damage to any infantry, and even vehicles will lose a few wounds to that. Finally, you could also use a Canoptek Reanimator. That's useful as it increases their reanimation protocol rolls by 1, so you'll get 50% more warriors, and that means that half of the warriors you lose will be coming back. You can transport them in a Ghost Ark, and the Ghost Ark can also repair a few of them per turn, but I think these are the main synergies. Comment any more if you think of any. Finally, I've decided to give these guys a score of 7 out of 10. They're pretty useful for some things, but I think there are other units which are just better. I'll focus on those things first, but then I'll go over the positives. First of all, Immortals are just better at shooting. They have Tesla carbines and Gauss blasters, I think, and they're just better. They have way better damage point for point. Like the Gauss blasters do D3 damage. These guys are also just bad in melee, and they're very slow if they're left unsupported. However, with the combination of reanimation protocols being toughness 4 and a 4+ save, which is fairly decent, they're actually quite durable for 13 points. They're useful for flooding objectives as well, with 20 of them getting into a unit, meaning you can just sit an entire unit of these on an objective, and if you use the correct dynasty, then you'll be able to get objectives secured on that, and nothing's really going to be taking that away from you. And Necrons are one of the factions that I collect and play games with. I like to run mine with the Gauss Reaper. I tend to use some Scorpec destroyers to do some damage and keep charging them and falling them back, and I use the Necron dynasty. This gives them the 6+ invulnerable save, and it also allows them to translocate instead of advance, where they move an extra 6 inches and they can go through walls and buildings. I choose the Reaper because it's better at dealing with infantry, and I like a more aggressive up-close playstyle with these, and seeing as I use a lot of melee-focused units already, I don't think that they'll be getting into melee that often. I'm going to be playing a game this weekend, and maybe I'll make a follow-up video at some point talking about how the Necron warriors played in that. But thank you for watching this. I hope you've all enjoyed it, and please subscribe if you like them. Leave a comment if you want to give me a video idea, and I'll leave a link to buy them in the description. Thanks for watching.